Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our WWE show for the week. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Scotty Too Hot.
Thanks, Grandmaster Fuckface. Gary Rhodes, everybody.
The first thing we're going to talk about is the opening segment. We had CM Punk coming out, and he was joined by our, SmackDown's general manager,
The well-spoken.
Booker T. Sucker.
Suckers got to know.
Anyway.
Booker T was, fucking up on his speaking. Punk saved the day.
As he always does. He is the people's champion.
He is the people's champion. And Booker T comes out and then makes a decision of...
And he stumbled just like you did.
Exactly, but a little bit worse. And gave the fans a choice. What's the viewer's choice thing called?
Who cares?
Exactly. But they had three former WrestleMania opponents of CM Punk. And you had your choice of who Punk was going to face tonight. Or last night. Y2J, Randy Orton, or Rey Mysterio.
And we'll get into who won the decision later on. Overall, it was a great promo by Punk. Like you said, Booker T did fuck up some of his lines, but it didn't hurt it overall, I don't think. Our first match of the night is a match they've had quite a bit lately. Ryback versus Antonio Cesaro.
I like the match. Of course, as I'm a Cesaro fan, I didn't like the outcome, but it was a means to an end of the match. Every match they've had, every time that Cesaro's ran off. This match, Ryback got the pin. But he didn't look like, he didn't get walked all over. It was a solid match, I think.
Well, as a matter of fact, Cesaro dominated most of the match.
Exactly.
But, it helped to build Ryback's resiliency, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of resiliency, we had a resilient wrestler that's been up and down the roster and pushed and de-pushed, and he recently made his return on SmackDown. Jack Swagger, his match was the next match against Santino Marella. Now on SmackDown, he beat Kofi Rhodes pretty handedly. Kofi Kingston. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Booker.
That's alright, Stevie. But on this, it was pretty much a predetermined outcome. You knew who was going to win when he came out to the ring. Swagger seems to be going with a more vicious side to him.
I'm liking it. I really am.
And the gimmick I think they're going with is he's trying to get into the Elimination Chamber match so he could get into a world title picture, which he really should be. The guy's got all the in-ring talent in the world. The thing I think he's missing is he needs a good mouthpiece, because when he talks, he sounds like succotash.
Well, his voice isn't intimidating. And it was like I was talking to you before about with Brock Lesnar. They never let Brock Lesnar talk until he was over. And that was the problem with Swagger, is Swagger talked before he wrestled. And that's what really kind of killed the mystique about Jack Swagger. But you look at Brock Lesnar now, you don't really think of how his voice sounds like a teenager's. He's a monster, and
he's an ass-kicking machine.
He's an ass kicker. He's a monster, whatever you want to call him, the beast. And Swagger has all the capability of being that good.
Yeah.
I was always high on Jack Swagger. I just didn't like his interview segments. And if they have a manager, I think it'll work great.
You know what my opinion would be? Is they should pair him with Brad Maddox, because I think Brad Maddox, he would work better as a manager than a wrestler. I've not been impressed with his ring work, but his mic skills and just his aura and persona, I have been impressed with. That he does have a good gimmick and he does have some good talent that way, but I think he would make a great manager instead of a wrestler.
I agree with you 100%. And like I said, that's the only thing that he doesn't have, and he's already a former world champion. Yeah. I think he can go further. My opinion.
And our next match tonight was Alberto Del Rio versus Cody Rhodes. It was a decent match, not nothing great, not nothing horrible. It just moved the show along, in my opinion. No,
it wasn't one of ADR's or Cody's best matches. I think since they broke the Rhodes Scholars up, I think that we're going to see some floundering between the two.
And I know that you liked something at the end of the match when Del Rio started his promo and Big Show was on the screen.
I tell you what, that was probably Big Show's best promo to me. And I've seen a lot of Big Show's promos, and I'll probably catch hell over it, because, he's done some good promos here and there. But I think that was his best. I like the way him and ADR are working together. And I mean, what else can you say about it? I mean, he's actually kept Big Show looking like a monster, and he's not afraid of it. It's kind of the David Goliath story.
Yeah. Now, speaking of monsters, our next match featured the return of a monster. We had Daniel Bryan versus Rey Mysterio. A good match. Daniel Bryan dominated the whole way through and won himself a spot in the Elimination Chamber by dominating so well in this. At the end of the match, Daniel Bryan's leaving. Now, the precursor to the match is he tells Kane, no matter what happens out there, don't come out and help me. Well, he probably shouldn't have told Kane that, because the world's strongest man came back, Mark Henry. First thing he does is toss Daniel Bryan into the guardrail, and then proceeds to go into the ring and decimate Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara.
I like what you texted me yesterday when this match, when all this was going on. That's how you bring back a monster. And I agree with you 100% on that. That's how you bring him back. You keep him legit. And Mark Henry, I think that was the best I've ever seen Mark Henry.
I think this is really keeping with. I liked his world title run, and I really like that they've kept him in that same character, that same badass character. That he's not sexual chocolate. He's not anything goofy that he's done in the past. Mark Henry works for me as a monster. I like to use the Vader bomb. I thought it was a decent thing. I was kind of hoping he was going up for the bonsai drop, because I haven't seen anybody use it in a while. But I liked it. His return was amazing, in my opinion.
Speaking of returns.
Now, speaking of that, our question of the week from last week was, which Royal Rumble return was your favorite? Now, we got some answers from our friends, and we'll go through them first, and then we'll tell you what we think. I think our friends and us are going to have the same opinion. First is from Joshua Adams, 1044. Jericho by far was the best surprise of the Rumble. He's one of the best. No, wait, he is the best in the world at everything he does. Plus, with the Ziggler feud built in, that was perfect. If they only they could have been the last two in the ring, aka HBK and Bulldog, it made Ziggler the future. Some good points there. And then our next is from our friend Paul over at the Deadly Sins, who posted up his video for the Ronius Challenge today. Plug, go check it out. Go check the Deadly Sins out. Watch that video. I think it's the hardest challenge he's ever done, and he struggled through it. We're happy that he made it through, and go check him out. I'm going to put a link down here. Down where?
Down there.
For everybody to go check it out. But anyway, back to what I was saying. He put, my favorite surprise entrant had to be Y2J. He left on the face, funny character, and he returned the same way. While I was happy to see Goldust and The Godfather, Y2J outshines them in every way. Looking forward to see what he does in the coming months. What do you think, Harry? I know you're probably on the same.
Oh, I'm on the same page. And I love the fact that after he got out of the Royal Rumble, because he was in there for like 45 minutes, Vince McMahon says, "How did you stay in such good wrestling shape while you were gone?" And he says, "I don't know, I just did."
I liked it. I'm going to go Y2J as my favorite. Close second is Goldust, just between the Goldust and Cody Rhodes interactions that they did. I really enjoyed that. Plus, I liked the fact that the surprise entrants were really surprises this year. That it wasn't spoiled, and the ones that were spoiled didn't end up being entrances.
That was really cool.
Now, speaking of Cody, our question of the week for this week is the Rhodes Scholars. If you watched Friday Night SmackDown, they amicably broke up. They're going to stay friends, but they're not going to stay
best
partners.
Best friends. Best friends.
Who do you think is going to go further from this point on in their career, Cody Rhodes or Damien Sandow? Let us know who you think, and next week we'll come back with our opinions, and we'll also read yours on the show. We want to let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Twitter, put it on our Facebook, put it down where?
Down there.
Right down in the comments. Now, speaking of a team that's been teased to break up, our next match had Kane versus Sheamus.
And Daniel Bryan was already upset with Kane since he didn't come out and help him with the whole Mark Henry incident. But Kane said, "You said to stay away, so I did." I was happy with this match. Kane still looked like a monster. He did some of his old shit that he hasn't done in forever. You know, he rolled out of the ring, landed on his feet, shit like that. Just certain things. I really was reminded of the old Kane with that.
I liked the match. I liked the ending where Daniel distracts him so he could catch the bird kick. I didn't mind so much. I would have liked Kane to win because I'm more of a Kane fan than a Sheamus fan, but overall the storyline works. It helps build the tension between him and Bryan and the friction to where I think they're eventually going to break up and you're going to see them feud for a little while. Maybe that'll be both of their WrestleMania feuds.
But I know something that you are high on.
PCP?
Miz TV.
Peyote?
No.
Angel
Miz
Dust?
TV. Well, you probably have to be on it to like it. It's gotten a little bit better, but
the only thing that made it better this week was his guest.
The Messiah?
The Messiah. Mr. Paul Heyman.
Mr. Mizanin? That's slander. You gotta love Paul.
He does it. Paul Heyman is one of the great interviews, great speakers in wrestling history. He brings out, Vicky Guerrero comes out to defend Paul Heyman, which I think they're building at some kind of a collusion or an alliance forming.
Alliance?
Yeah, there's no Stephanie this time.
Well, he'd be kind of dangerous with
Exactly.
them two together. I don't know.
Your puns are terrible.
Your faces.
But they're both saying why Brock Lesnar attacked Vince McMahon, and neither one of them knew what was going to happen. Miz goes on and kind of gets into Paul Heyman's face a little bit, which cues up the music.
Here comes the pain, Miz.
The Beast! Brock
The Beast
Lesnar
is back.
came out and destroys a set, which Ryback did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but Brock did it without struggling. I mean, he just throws shit around. And when he threw the chairs at Miz, the first chair hit Miz like in the leg or something like that. Second one almost hit him right in the face. I mean, he
Would have
did
been an improvement.
Yeah. Well, he's still rocking Kofi's mark.
I liked it. I thought it was good. I like Brock destroying. We had basically two destroyers on the show with Henry and Brock Lesnar coming out and just doing what they do best, destroying people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to you, I would love to see a tag team of the two. It would be kind of like a new version of the Natural Disasters.
Well, you look at it this way. Over all the years when Brock debuted as a heel, Mark was a face.
Yeah.
And when Brock turned face, Mark turned heel. So they're never the same side at the same time. I wouldn't mind to see a tag team between the two.
At least a one-time shot with seeing them together.
Probably costs a lot of this.
There you go. Our next match has a guy that makes a lot of this. Randy Orton versus Wade Barrett, the bare-knuckle brawler.
The barrage.
I don't think that this was a bad match. I'm tired of seeing these two against each other. This is about the 15th time in the last 3 months that we've seen this.
Yeah, it's getting to be the same with the Cesaro Ryback, but they changed things up a little bit here. But the thing is, it's not the same outcome every time.
No,
Orton don't win every time. Barrett
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just tired of this. They move these two on to other things. Let them do other stuff.
Well, Orton's supposed to be turning heel pretty soon, and they keep putting him against the top heels. How is that going to work when you keep putting your...
Well, he wants to turn heel. They haven't said if he's going to or not. Besides, he can't be the top heel anyway. The guy in our next match is the top heel.
He's the best in the world.
The People's Champ, CM Punk, came out, and the winner of the fans' choice is...
Well, if you haven't guessed by now, Y2J.
Chris Jericho.
Awesome match.
I thought it was a really good match. It's something that they probably should have kept for a pay-per-view, because it was a pay-per-view quality match. The thing, and I read about this, I read on Bleacher Report, I was reading that earlier today, they were talking, someone had reviewed it, and they said it kind of hurts Y2J that he came back at the Rumble and has lost his 2 matches since then.
Well, last week's match was a gimmick match. Yeah. I don't think it hurt him any to lose. And this week was a real match, and he won against CM Punk, the guy that's going for the world title, the WWE title. So, of course, he's going to lose.
Well, they could have kept him away from Punk, too.
They could have.
Built up some wins. But the point he was making, and I kind of agree, I don't remember who wrote the story, but it's great to have Y2J to put over some guys, But for him to put people over, he's got to get some wins too. He could have beat somebody lower on the card this week, and
maybe that might be for next week. I don't know. I think they were just trying to build up this show as much as they humanly possibly could, just because The Rock wasn't there.
Exactly.
And I think this match here put asses in the seats. They could have had the Shield jump Jericho or something like that to kind of help out the outcome, but you never know.
I like the Punk won cleanly. I don't mind the outcome of the match.
No.
I'm kind of nitpicking at this point. We're talking about two of the absolute best in the world. Gimmick, not
they live up to their
gimmick included. I mean, they're two of the. If you were to name the five best wrestlers wrestling right now, and these two aren't on your list, there's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
Now,
speaking of the best wrestlers,
going from CM Punk, who had the best world title run. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Had one of the most epic title runs, the longest in 25 years.
Modern era.
The guy that's had the longest title run in history is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Bruno Sammartino. The guy that I think, and if you watched, we did a top 10 a couple weeks back about top 10 guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame. Two of them are actually going in now, Bruno and Backlund. I think there's not
They're going to update that episode, huh?
We might have to. I mean, they're pretty much naming everybody we put on the list. Bruno Sammartino, I don't think there is a more deserving wrestler other than Bruno Sammartino. And I would say that the way that this is shaping out, if they don't induct anybody else, this is the best class that they've ever put in. I mean, you got 17 years between Bruno, Foley, and Backlund of championship runs. Then you have Trish Stratus, who's arguably the greatest women's wrestler of all time. I mean, you got one hell of a Hall of Fame class already.
Would you put that over Hogan's Hall of Fame class with Piper?
I mean, look at it. Put them up against each other.
I don't know. I'm not nitpicking. I'm just I'm happy with it. I was very happy that Bob Backlund got in.
You got two of the greatest champions in the history of the WWF. And you got Mick Foley, one of the greatest performers of the Attitude Era. Then you got Trish Stratus, possibly the greatest women's wrestler.
I was very happy that Backlund got in, and I'm glad for Bruno. Bruno's a little bit before my time. Backlund won it around when I was like a year too old. So Backlund was my first champion.
Well, the good thing about this is this is one of the good things about the PG era, that Bruno Sammartino could actually go in because he's okay with the product.
It'd be funny if the day after WrestleMania turns back into Attitude Era. I would love it. But anyways.
Well, we did have an Attitude Era segment coming up next.
Oh, yeah.
The whole night it was teased that Big Show was in his hotel room and someone was going to bring over a contract for him to sign. Well, the guy did show up to sign the contract, and he tried to warn Show, but Show wouldn't listen to him. Alberto Del Rio's outside. They get in a little skirmish. Alberto gets the better of Show. There's some good.
I think he ate some bad Mexican food.
Yeah, there was some good comedy with people coming out of their hotel rooms and Alberto telling them, "No, he's okay. My friend needed a little bit bad Mexican food.
I'm gonna go get him some Alka-Seltzer or something like that. I don't know. I liked it. It reminded me of the old school days.
Yeah, it's an Attitude Era segment.
And I'm liking this version of heel Big Show. I really am.
And I really like this version of face Alberto Del Rio.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think it was last week, that I think Alberto Del Rio is the best face in the WWE right now.
He is. I mean, he's your poster boy baby face, but it's not making you sick. He's not Boy Scout Cena.
Nope.
He'll cheat a little bit.
It's fresh.
Exactly. And I like it.
Now, speaking of fresh, we had some fresh faces in our next segment of the night, the main event segment. Teased all night, it was said that Cena was going to call out the Shield, but it wasn't John Cena. It was Brad Maddox.
Brad Maddox, indeed.
Brad Maddox calls out the Shield. They proceed to decimate him, which brings out John Cena, and they stand there. They do their thing. Then Sheamus comes out, and then Ryback. So the Shield try to retreat, and it looks like the entire roster blocks the ramp for them retreating. So they have to go in the ring, take a little bit of a beating, and then they run off.
So I thought Cena was going to call him out for himself and take out the Shield by himself. Super Cena but he cowards and has Shamus and Ryback with him. That's Ryback too. I like that way. But anyways, I like it because it builds up for the match they're talking about.
Well, apparently on WWE Active, which they pushed to death yesterday.
God, did you update your app?
Yeah, I got the app. I don't think I've ever even looked at it, to be honest with you. Apparently, Cena called out the Shield for a 6-man match at the Elimination Chamber. Now, the rumor is they're going to put them in an Elimination Chamber match as the 6 guys, which I think would be a nice, refreshing change to the traditional, almost like a combination of the War Games in an Elimination.
Well, it's been on a video game forever. Ever since they've had Elimination Chamber, this aspect of the Elimination Chamber has always existed, but they've never done it. So I'm happy to see if they do it like that.
Yeah, I think it would be a good deal. And overall, what would you give this show, Gary?
I'm really high on this show, to be honest with you, and I'm gonna give it 4. I'm gonna give it 4 stars.
I think you're dead on with that. I'm gonna say 4. There's a little bit of room for improvement, but not much. I think it was a good, well put together show. You could definitely tell they're in WrestleMania season.
You can tell that. Plus, they're catering to all different types of fans. Exactly. Like you said, they're catering to the PG fans. You got a little bit of Attitude Era stuff in there. And this is the kind of show I like. I don't like to see the whole babyface show. There was a lot of heel moves. There's a lot of heel time, and I liked it.
Exactly. I thought it was a really good put together show. Like I said, usually about about this time, the shows get better and better building to WrestleMania. But basically, that's all I have.
All I gotta say.
Dad?
That's it.
Well, my name is George Coles.
Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.